Last month, I was in Toronto for a conference, and being the diligent, hardworking grad student I am, I took the opportunity to try as many coffee shops as I could. Over the course of 9 coffee shops, I got to sample some pour-overs, find my favorite flat white, and even had a little time left over to explore the non-coffee parts of the city. Okay, let's get started. Our first stop is Subtext Coffee Roasters, a micro-roastery boasting a wide selection of single-origin coffees. Looking at the menu, you could tell that their sole focus is on the coffee itself. None of those caramel, low whip, lavender mocha frappe tonics. Just black coffee, espressos, and a couple ancillary drinks like tea and matcha. After ordering, I went to grab a seat. One thing I really liked was the variety of seating available. There were high tops in the center of the room, small booths off to the side for catching up with friends, a bleacher staircase with small tables, and some stools right at the bar. I ended up sitting in the bleachers where I could watch the baristas work and pretend to cheer them on like I was at a sporting event. I decided on a pour-over of the Don Daniel Cruz. The beans were from Oaxaca, Mexico, and were described as juicy and vibrant with notes of limeade, cherry cola, and raspberry. Part of why I like pour-overs is that it's lighter and feels like drinking tea. It's a little easier to taste the differences between beans, and the color is just gorgeous. I appreciate how they use clear glass carafes so you can marvel at its beautiful hue. The color in the cup was a warm golden brown, and it was fun to watch the color change as you filled it up with coffee. Subtext also has their own custom wooden trays with their logo etched in, which was a nice touch. There were little indents to make sure that the card, cup, and carafe all had their designated homes on the board. At the beginning of this trip, I promised myself to only have one coffee at each shop to pace myself and try more places. But I immediately broke that rule and got a second pour-over. This time, the Yesid Pajoy from Huila, Colombia. Right away, the aroma was different from the previous one. You could taste the plum at the beginning of each sip, and the aftertaste lingered a little longer. It was more muted but not lacking in flavor. It was interesting to compare with the Don Daniel Cruz and taste the immediate differences between beans. After finishing up my final sip, I left my little coffee tasting studio in the bleachers and headed out to the next coffee shop. Put on your safety goggles because it's time for some science. This is 3 Dots Coffee Lab, a specialty coffee shop on College Street. Similar to Subtext, I liked how there were a variety of places to sit, whether it's at the bar, tables at the back, or the open communal space up front. There was also a fun exhibit off to the side where you could squeeze a bulb and smell the aroma of different coffee beans. 3 Dots Coffee Lab has all your standard brews and beverages, but what's unique is their rotating creative menu featuring seasonal cocktail-esque drinks. When I visited, it was the Golden Equinox series with 3 options: Osmanthus, Moon, and Harvest. I got the Harvest, a drink with stratigraphic layers of espresso, Maojian green tea, buckwheat, milk, and a baked rice topping that I thought was Parmesan. With each sip, the first thing you smell is the toasty rice followed by the taste of the espresso with sweet cream on top. Then, while you appreciate the crunch of the rice, the flavor subtly morphs into a green tea, leading you to do a double take and check that you're still drinking from the same cup. My only critique is that there was too much milk for my personal taste, but I think it's just the nature of the drink. I wish I had the caffeine tolerance to try all 3 creative drinks, but alas, my training has been insufficient. Maybe one day I'll be strong enough to stomach all 3 at once, but until then, it's time for a quick break before our next coffee shop. It's the next morning and we're at Found Coffee Shop, a spot serving specialty coffee with an Aussie flair. I really like it when coffee shops have their own iconic color that ties everything together. From the cups to the saucers to the coffee bags, hats, and walls, everything was decorated with this pinkish salmon color that embodied my antithesis: warm, inviting, and easy on the eyes. This is their signature drink, the Doctor. It's a spin on the classic flat white, but made with a double ristretto instead of espresso. The beans were their fall blend, which was nutty, punchy, and perfect for cutting through the cold winter weather. Typically, as coffee cools down, the flavor changes and it can become sour or stringent, but this cup had the endurance and stamina to maintain its taste from the first to last sip. Maybe it's a result of using a ristretto, but regardless, it was impressive. I also got a bite to eat, and as a millennial, I was falling dangerously behind on my avocado toast quota. They were extremely generous with the avocado, to the point it was basically a 1-to-1 ratio with the bread, if not more. Love the heat from the chili flakes, acidity of lemon juice, and aroma of the olive oil combined with the crusty bread. This was the first green thing I've eaten this trip, and as you will see, also the last, so hooray for healthy eating. Now that I'm properly caffeinated and fueled up, it's time to go back to exploring the city. Throughout the trip, there were a lot of small coffee shops that I tried, but didn't feel quite big enough to warrant a whole section. I really enjoyed all the shops and wanted to highlight them, so here's a mini power ranking of 5 flat whites I had. Starting off is Woolshed Coffee. Walking inside, they had all the decorative elements of a third wave coffee shop. Hanging plants? Check. Incense? Check. Record player? Check. They even decided to one-up the competition and project a Japanese film as well. Also, a canoe on the wall. This was the sweetest flat white I had this trip, to the point I suspected foul play and the barista added sugar when I wasn't looking. The smoothness of the coffee was only matched by the smoothness of the cup itself, which was comforting to hold and a textural pleasure. Jeez, that sounds creepy. Woolshed Coffee was a solid start, and it's on to the next contestant. Love a good nighttime coffee, and for that, we're making a pit stop at the Propeller coffee car. They're sat inside a bookstore, which surely is a parking violation, but it looks like the police are turning a blind eye. If I ever open a coffee shop, maybe I'll start with a car like this. That way, if I serve a bad cup, I can drive away and flee the crime scene. What really struck me about this flat white was the natural sweetness and aroma. So far, I've been really impressed at how each coffee has their own distinct personality, highlighting that the beans actually do taste unique and different. I also like how coffee cups in Canada have these red lids which I've never seen before, and it's going to be a great add to my collection. It's time to head to the library for flat white number 3. This was mostly a grab-and-go type of shop with some benches but no tables. Instead, most of the space inside was dedicated for their roasting equipment in the back. This was a good sign that they really put special thought and care on the beans they use, which you could buy as well. This flat white was a touch darker than Propeller, but the sweetness of the milk and the notes of the coffee still came through. Even though this was the library, I unfortunately couldn't return the coffee afterwards. Well, not for another couple hours at least, and I don't think they'd want it back anyways. Next is Wallace Espresso, a cute cozy shop that was getting a head start on the holidays by playing Christmas tunes inside. The barista was also whistling and harmonizing along, so obviously they get extra points. I was a little flat white fatigued, so I got a cortado instead. Even for cortado, this was more bitter than what I'm used to, but still a solid effort. Also, peep my new coffee journal I've been using to really turn that performativeness up to an 11. Our final flat white is at Fahrenheit Coffee. It was super busy when I visited with an endless line of patrons and one superstar barista holding down the fort. There were 3 beans you could choose from which made each cup feel personalized and made just for you. I chose the Diablo, and it came at the perfect temperature for immediate sipping. I didn't know milk could be textured so softly, and the notes of the coffee were so pronounced they've clearly been taking diction lessons from Professor Higgins. This was by far the best of the bunch, so Fahrenheit storms its way to the top of the leaderboard. Here is the final power ranking. Maybe I was drinking from rose-tinted cups as a tourist, but every cup still tasted so much better than what I usually get back home. Anyways, I gotta get some real actual food in me and move on from this liquid diet. Our final stop is Ethica Coffee Roasters, a destination coffee shop that is worth going out of your way to enjoy. I really like the interior design of the space. High ceilings, exposed brick wall, and a variety of seats and tables. My favorite part was the combination of the industrial girders with the hanging plants, which made it feel like nature was reclaiming the space. I'm genuinely sad that my videography and editing skills aren't nearly up to par to capture and share the atmosphere and vibe of the shop. I started off with a pour-over of the Arnaldo Guzman from San Agustin, Colombia. This was probably my favorite pour-over of the trip. There was no bitterness at all, and the floral and fruity notes made it taste like an unsweetened juice. Even when it cooled off, it had the fortitude to maintain and sustain its flavor and didn't turn sour at all. Since I have no self-control, here's round 2. The financier was a perfect small treat and companion of coffee. Crispy exterior, slightly fluffy interior, and the fragrant scent of almonds. This time, I tried another flat white with some impressive latte art of a swan. Like at Fahrenheit, you could choose from one of 3 beans, and I went with their standard espresso beans from Brazil. I will admit, at this point, I was getting a little coffee tuckered out, but this was a cup that rejuvenated me and reminded me of why I love going to coffee shops in the first place. I was originally planning on coming right when they opened to get a head start on my day, and was disappointed in myself when I overslept. But because I came later, I managed to catch their weekly live music on Sundays. It was a nice reminder that sometimes the best parts of your day are when things don't go to plan. Ethica was the kind of coffee shop where afterwards, you don't really care what happens the rest of the day. It was such a good experience that nothing can take away from it, and it was the perfect final stop of the trip. Thank you for coming along on this coffee shop tour. It was fun to explore the city through the lens of coffee, and I'm already excited for the next time I'm back to drain the rest of the city of its bean juice. Check back for part 2 where we go bakery hopping across Toronto and find out why they have universal healthcare, cause, oh boy, it's gonna be a doozy. Until then, peace out.